Do you want to live in a world that's positive and happy? Or do you want to live in a world where people are negative and nasty, gossiping, criticising, horrible people? And one of the things that I always ask people is what makes you happy, or how do you want to live your life? And nobody's ever said to me they want it to be nasty and negative and they want to be unhappy. In fact, at the top of most people's goals list is to be happy. And when I ask the question, what makes you happy, no one's ever said when somebody gossips about me or criticises me or talks negative. So the conversation that I walked into today, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around it because I can't understand it. It was a group of children, literally, they were older children, but they were not teenagers yet. And they were talking about killing the president of a country. They had gone onto a website, there was bets on who was going to kill that particular president quicker. And they were having this supposedly fun conversation about who was going to kill a president. Now, I don't want to live in that world. And as an adult who has no children, I'm still not quite understanding how that conversation would even come about and what I should have done about it as an adult. What I did do was change the subject really quickly. I asked some positive questions. We talked about a completely different topic, and I changed the environment very, very quickly, which is something I've been doing my whole life because I want to live in a happy world. How about you? If I come across people in a conversation that are talking about rainy weather and they don't like it, or the traffic on the road, or the government they don't like, or they've had a bad day, or they don't like a certain diet or exercise program, I'm the first person to turn it into a positive. I live my life that way. I don't want negative conversation, so if I walk into a negative conversation, I turn it into a positive. Now, everyone can live their life however they want to, but I'm going to ask the question again. If we talk negative about anything, is the world going to be a better place or a worse place? Now, a lot of people share with me, Rowie, you can't be happy all the time. The world's full of crappy stuff. You've got to be a realist. And I am. The reality is that there's always going to be bad stuff happen. But one of my favourite quotes is this: there will always be bad people doing bad stuff, but the world only becomes a bad place when good people do nothing. And I don't want to be the person that does nothing about a group of children talking about assassinating a president. Now, there's a lot of argument about where does that come from, and there was some comments about, when I talked to some parents about it, there were some comments about a lot of computer games now about killing people. In fact, most computer games are guns and knives and fights and bombs and killing people. I've never played a computer game in my life. I know that might make me a very unusual person. In fact, I will rephrase that. I played one game of Pac-Man when I think I wasn't even yet a teenager. And I worked really hard for my money. I started earning money when I was 10 years of age, and I thought, I'm not wasting 20 cents or 50 cents or whatever it was on that machine. I'm not wasting my money on playing a game on a machine. I'd rather go and play sport. I'd rather go for a run. I'd rather get outside in the fresh air and sunshine than play on a machine. Now, that's just me, and there's a lot of people that really enjoy computer games. But if we fill our head up with wars and killings and murders and shootings and knives and guns and wars and bombs, what kind of life are we going to live? If we hang out with people that talk about terrible weather and horrible experiences and they put a negative spin on everything, what's going to happen? I learned a very long time ago from a business coach who shared that you could probably find a very fresh, yummy, beautiful apple in a rubbish bin. You could probably find one, but you don't need the reputation of sorting through the rubbish trying to find an apple in a rubbish bin. Now, I'm paraphrasing because the quote was a little bit different to that. But I don't want to try and find good stuff in bad stuff. I'm going to look for the good stuff in good stuff. And I'll share again. If I walk into a horrible conversation, I'm going to do whatever I can to turn it into a positive conversation. If somebody says, and I use this as a classic example because I use it all the time, if somebody starts gossiping to me, they'll never do it again, because I always share this. If you're prepared to gossip to me, because I always say, stop, it sounds like you're gossiping. If you're prepared to gossip to me, that means you would be prepared to gossip about me. That makes you a gossip. Go away. Now, as an old lady, I can say that, but I've been saying that for a really long time, because to me, gossip is such a waste of time. You're talking about somebody else and they're not even there. If you want to talk about somebody, say something nasty to them, at least have the courage to go and say it to their face, but don't do it behind their back. Now we live in a world where it's not even considered to talk to the person's face. You just type something nasty and send it out to the world. Most people don't even send a nasty thing to the person. They just send a nasty thing out to the world. I might sound like a very old lady who's been rah, happy, motivated, but I don't want to live in that world, and I choose not to. The question I'm asking is this: what about our kids? What future have they got? Our kids learn from us. What we do screams so loudly they can't hear what we say. But they do hear what we say. And if we are gossips as adults, if we criticize people, if we pull people down, if we create websites about how quickly we can assassinate the president of a country, what can we possibly expect our kids to be hearing and thinking and growing up to do? I want our kids to be healthy, to be fit, to be strong, to be mentally tough. I want kids to grow up knowing they can have a career or business that they love. I want them to know that they can be financially free. They don't have to struggle for money. I want them to know they can have beautiful people in their life. But how would they know that if I don't live that? So although I'm not a parent, I have a lot of children in my life, and I want to be the living, breathing example of happy, positive, solution-finding optimist who will not accept negative conversations. So not only do often with adults, I'll smile, nod, and walk away. But with children, I'm not going to walk away. I'm going to stop the conversation, turn it into something positive, and then share with them why I did that. Because I want our kids to know that they don't have to become nasty, negative, horrible, yucky people who talk about horrible things. The world will always have horrible people, and they will always do horrible things. But the world will only become a horrible place if we do nothing. And I want to be the adult that does something. How about you?